Hey guys, Brian with Buffalo Beer Reviews. Today we're going to be back with a quick little brew day video. I made my last batch was Citra Mosaic hazy IPA called Trusty Hops. With my little ode to hot water music. I loved it. The batch turned out absolutely amazing, and I wanted to see if I couldn't repeat the numbers and the end product and the end results, and see if I couldn't do it again and maybe make this a more permanent recipe in my little brew book. Do you know what I mean? Here's the recipe from last time with all my little notes. I'm just about ready to weigh out my water treatments with my calcium chloride, my gypsum, and my lactic acid. Really, this is going to be a mash in at 154 for an hour. And this one, this recipe I used mostly Golden Promise. I did a Golden Promise 2-row, like a 60-40 ratio, and did Flaked Oats, Flaked Rye, and Cara-Pils. I have been the last couple of batches using like a Magnum sort of bittering hop, very clean sort of bittering hop at the beginning, and I've really liked the way that the brews have turned out, so I'm going to keep going with that Magnum. Anything out from last time? Oh, I used the dry ale, used the US-04 dry yeast. I'm sorry, the dry yeast last time, the one in the blue packet, and that worked out really well. And my numbers from last batch, I started off with a 1067 gravity, ended with a 1020 for like a 6.17% ABV. Do I have lactose on here as well? I don't know why I don't have lactose on here. What did I don't remember if I used it in the last batch and I didn't add it to my recipe. Anyway, I'm going to add lactose to this recipe because that was the last time I did use lactose. I have to update my recipe. Anyway, Wicked Hazy, it dry hopped really nicely. And I used keg hops for my second dry hop as it was carbonating and kind of fine-tuning in the refrigerator. So I'm just about to weigh out these water additions, and we'll start the mashing process. All right, we mashed in, and we're shooting for 154. I have the little recirculation pump going. I found that it really does help kind of mix up the temperature and distribute it evenly. I overshot my initial strike water a little bit. I'm at 155 degrees. I want 154. So I mean, we take a little average, and we're almost there. I've been stirring it around. The little pump. Right now, I just have it going back into the kettle, but I can move it over, get some of that warmness over the grains. It's a little bit faster than it draws from underneath, so right now I have it kind of on the side, and I do that just to kind of distribute the warm water over the mash bed, you know what I mean? So I'll get this going. It was like right at 8 o'clock in the morning, my hour, and I'll let this go. I'm really excited. Mashed in. Yeah, my last recipe did have lactose, and I totally forgot all about it. My little garbage bag. I'll get this all cleaned up. My favorite part, I was just doing an inventory of grains that I had, and you can see how my little brew space got taken over by arts and crafts and glue guns and stuff. Oh well, 'tis the life of a dad. So I'll pick back up when I think we're going to be sparging, okay? All right, guys, we are done with our mashing, and we're done with the sparge, and I'm just bringing this wort up to boil now. I believe I'm right around 176, 177. It's been a good day, brew day so far. I am new to the whole pump system. You can see I've got the pump. It helps me kind of recirculate during the mash, and it also helps me to whirlpool after my boil is done, or like a hop stand or a steep and a whirlpool. It's not like the most powerful sort of pump, but it does get the job done. And then I just leave it going since it's already kind of sanitized. I leave it going during the chilling process, so it kind of recirculates the cold, and I get a more accurate temperature reading during my my cooling phase, which is really cool. So I'm still new to this. This is only my second batch with the pump, but I really do enjoy it. It makes life really easy for me. Instead of having to take the Pyrex out of here and kind of recirculate through the grain during mashing, this kind of does it all for me, and it's really nice. I didn't put it on the video, but my mash pH hit right. I was shooting for like 5.46, and I was at 5.47, 48. Kind of fluctuated between the two. So our mash pH is right on. Kind of gave it a little bit more volume post sparge. Like I usually sparge up to about 6.25 gallons. Today I sparged up to like 6.5 gallons. I noticed after some of the dry hopping stages in my fermenter that I was losing a little bit of volume kind of going into the keg. And this was an enjoyable brew, so I kind of figured I would give it a little bit more volume starting off now, and maybe I'll reap a little bit more volume going into the keg in a couple of weeks. That's about it. I'm just waiting for it to ramp up to boil for our first hop addition, which is going to be our bittering Magnum charge. So I'll pick back up when we're boiling. Hey guys, we're coming up on, we've been boiling for about 25 minutes, almost halfway there. According to the recipe here, I have a half an ounce of Citra and a half an ounce of Mosaic coming up. That's our second hop addition, but that's only for 10 minutes. So that's a little bit later on in the boil. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get ready for the wort chiller. I'll get that in there and get that sanitized, and I will get my hop additions added to Darth Vader here. You guys are fortunate. This is the debut of Darth Vader as my hop vesicle. You guys should be, honored that you get to see Darth. I'm joking. Anyway, little things. Took out my my old grains. I got the other grains cooling off. I'm going to take those out. Kind of cleaning as you go. You know what I mean? Nice and vigorous boil. I'm going to flip the camera around. So nice vigorous sort of boiling. I have the 0.2 ounces of Magnum in the spider. And I'm getting ready. Like I'm going to start recirculating these in a little bit. So sounds pretty cool. We'll pick back up in a little bit. All right, we're just moments away from our 10-minute hop addition. You can kind of see I've got my wort chiller hooked up to the water in, water out. I've got my hop spider with my 60-minute addition already rolling. And then I have, once I start to cool this down, to 170 degrees for my Whirlpool hop stand or steep, I will hook the pump back up through the hop spider. That way it's twofold. Any grains that kind of got through the mesh basket that are in the bottom, they might be sucked out by the pump, and they can go in through the 400 micron sort of mesh basket and kind of get collected there. That's one of the reasons. And two, it's like that's got all the hop material in it. I'd like to get the pump kind of going through the hops to kind of release the oils and the whole kind of purpose behind whirlpooling. Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna check my timer, which is on my phone, and then get Darth Vader to drop the pellets in, and then we'll keep rolling. A great little surprise today during my brew day. Tom from Western New York Beer Trail stopped by and dropped a glass off and a beer to help me through my plumbing woes. A little leak and needed to tear out my living room ceiling. So I really appreciated that. We are just transferring over from the brew kettle into the fermenter. Let me flip the camera around. Another nice little feature of having the pump is you can kind of have everything set up appropriately and have the wort transferred over via the pump, which is really nice. That cooled down pretty quickly. I recirculated the pump back into the brew kettle as we were cooling off, and it gave it a really nice, thorough, and steady cool, which was really cool. The little spiral valve on the end of that tube is helping to aerate it a little bit more as it's going into the fermenter. I have my US Safale S-04 dry ale yeast. I believe this is like the English. No, it's just dry ale yeast. I didn't know if it was like the English version, but there is a US S-05 that I want to also experiment with just to see what the different strains of yeast hold. But this will go in there momentarily, and I'll grab a gravity reading in a moment. Thank you for reminding me, YouTubeville. I'll grab my gravity reading in just a hot second, and we'll see if we hit our numbers like the first batch. I'm getting 1066. So when I look at my previous recipe notes, I don't know if you can see that, but my first recipe was 1067. I am beyond happy with that. That means that I have some reliability to my process. 1067 on the first batch, 1066 on this batch. Even if it comes out to be 1020 final gravity again, still is going to be a fairly respectable ABV. I did cut it a day short just because I wasn't sure if the activity had kind of died out with the dry ale. I'm not really well versed with the dry ale. Or the dry yeast, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if activity had kind of stalled. And on top of that, I was getting a little impatient because it looked and smelled just amazing. So even with my hydrometer here, my hydrometer reading, you could see it's a 1066 as clear as day. So I'm really happy with this. All that's left to do is, here it is. All that's left to do is pitch the yeast. I have my top over there sanitizing, and kind of put it up on my little fermenter shelf. That's really about it. I hope you guys like these videos. I by no means am a professional brewer, and I don't think my beer space is something out in left field. I think anybody who wants to do homebrew can have a little basement brewery space, brew space, if they really wanted to. And you can make fun, good quality, tasty beers in your basement if you really want to. So I hope this video was helpful or entertaining. I'm going to clean up my Darth Vader and get this thing kind of set up on its shelf. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll post the recipe in the description if you guys want to brew it yourself or have any idea about like hop scheduling and stuff like that. So thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.